Hey there. So, if someone had told me 7 years ago where I would be today, there's no way I would have believed them. I had just been laid off of my job as a VP of marketing. My marriage had completely unraveled. I had just taken over the ownership of my house and all of the expenses that went along with it. And I'd waived alimony and child support and had absolutely zero income coming in. And actually, I talked more about this. If you're interested in the details, there's a video I recorded earlier called How I Got the Universe to Conspire in My Favor. And you could go listen to that and really get the details of the story. But at that point, I just really wasn't sure what I was going to be doing with my life. And, I had to find a way to make up the income, obviously. And, it's funny whenever I got into a situation with the corporate world where I was really just I'd been laid off, or I've been, was really sick of the corporate grind, or I was tired of dealing with politics or whatever it was. I remember thinking, oh, I just wish I could move to the south of France into some charming little village and sit in a cafe and write a best-selling novel. I always loved to write, but I was never one of those people who felt like I had a novel inside of me. And, besides, being a novelist, you don't make much money. So I always thought, okay, that's going to be maybe a retirement career when I don't have to worry so much about my income. And actually I had a really great career up until that point. For 29 years I've been working with fantastic brands like MTV, Nickelodeon, The Sharper Image, Pokemon, and I had an international career. So I was flying all over the world, staying at fabulous hotels, eating at amazing restaurants, and just really, experiencing other cultures, which is something I truly love to do. So, I really liked what I was doing. The only thing was as good as these brands were, they really didn't resonate with me personally. So that was something that always kind of bothered me. I always thought, wow, wouldn't it be great if I could do what I'm doing for brands that I really loved? And I was always drawn to health and wellness. Um, I grew up with a mom who was an organic gardener long before that was a thing. She cooked from scratch when most people were, the convenience foods were really becoming much bigger. So people are going to convenience foods, and mom was cooking from scratch. And, I was always interested in hearing more about ways that would help me stay, younger and active and healthy longer. And it's funny, I remember when I was this is when I was living in Paris. This was in the 80s. And I had read an article in Self magazine, which doesn't even exist anymore, I don't think. And it was talking about how, yes, we know that sunbathing is bad for you. This was something that was, had only been discovered, a handful of years earlier, that, sunbathing is bad for you and causes cancer. But they had also then found out that it was actually the daily exposure to the UVA, UVB rays that actually cause your skin to age. So I started wearing sunscreen daily, and I was only 20 years old. So I always had kind of that, looking out for that kind of information. And when I was working, people in the office would always come and talk to me about, first of all, they always would come to see what I brought for lunch, because I always brought leftovers. So they wanted to see what I had cooked. But they also, whenever they had any kind of health thing, they would always, come in and ask me what I thought. And I remember reading books. So like when I was on long flights, I just loved, to grab books that were about health and wellness. I remember reading a book called The Food Pharmacy, and that was like really the first book I read that was along these lines of talking about how food can really impact your health and your well-being. And I couldn't get enough of this stuff. So, reading books and magazines and whatever it was. Um, so that was, you know, I at times thought, wow, maybe I should get into more of a health and wellness related field. But, I had a child at that point. I had a mortgage. I was the primary earner. I had a demanding career, and I couldn't see how I could actually even start taking, classes, and go down that road. So even so, I mean, I really yearned to find a way to do something I love that allowed me to work on my terms. So that would be like work where I want, when I want, with whom I want, and still be able to support the lifestyle I want. But that really seemed like a pipe dream, especially back then. This was like before the internet is what it is today. So it just really seemed like that was impossible. Well, I think the universe really got the message and decided it needed to give me a little help in making this happen. So again, my whole life unraveled, and as I talked about in that other video, and that's what really got me into copywriting. So I found out about copywriting. I fell in love with it. It is such an interesting craft, and it's so much more involved than you would think. And you learn all about, the psychology behind writing. You have to learn about, human behavior and human nature and all these things, and you use all this stuff in your writing. And I loved it. And it's funny because I remember thinking, here I had this 29-year career building brands, really big name brands, and I was just going to have to give that all up and just, because I was now starting off as a copywriter. And something interesting happened. As I started working with clients, I realized that they not only needed my help for writing copy, but they also needed my branding help. And this was something I actually had to help them with their branding before I could actually write their copy. And this was like the marketing hat that I brought to this new career that I was on. And when I say, they needed my branding help, it was really about how to position them. I knew I needed to figure out how to position them so they could stand out from their competition. And then I could create the messaging that would really attract people who wanted whatever it was that they were selling, their product or their service. So a lot of the initial work I did with people was more about branding. Now, I'm not talking about like the makes you look good part of branding, like logos and fonts and graphics and that type of thing. I'm really talking about what I call the makes you money part of branding. So like I said, again, this is all about the positioning, the messaging, standing out from your competition, all those things that are going to really attract the right kind of people. And so that's what I decided. I was like, you know what? I can do this for health and wellness coaches. There's no point in me trying to become a health and wellness coach when there are so many out there who could really use help with their marketing and their copywriting and their positioning. And this is expertise that I have for, over 29 years. And now this is something that I can really do to help them build their business. And so that's what I decided to do. I decided to focus really on helping health and wellness coaches create, a business that they can do wherever they want, with, whenever they want, and working with whom they want. And also support the lifestyle they want. So just like me, that's like the most important for me. And I want to help health and wellness coaches do the same thing. And since then, I've helped hundreds of health and wellness coaches do just that. And that's why I decided to start this YouTube channel, because I really want to share a lot of this learning and, the things that I've discovered along the way, helping health coaches build their business. And I want to help more people to do that. So if you're a health and wellness coach looking to build or scale your business and you're interested in following along, please like, subscribe, and share. And that's all for today. And I will see you next time. All right. Bye-bye.